We're now on Daf Yudches. Testam Yehuda v'Gol kishas cherem dam. So the Mishnah wants to say that even if there's official peace, it's really just a fig leaf, but it's kishas cherem dam. In other words, there's still tension between Yehuda and Golil, and there are no caravans and shayoras going back and forth, and therefore the mecha of the Markama will not be heard from Yehuda to Golil. And Yehuda and Golil, in general, are like two Malchios that are at war with each other. And therefore, there's no possibility that the Mecha would reach the ears of the Machzik, and therefore the Chezkes HaMachzik is not a Mecha, is not a Chazak. Now the Gemara asks another question. V'lisni moder Rabbi Yeshua b'yomer l'chaver mono levisi mimcha upraticha lecha shu neman. I come to you and I say, I borrowed money from you, but I paid you back. I mean, you don't even know that I borrowed money from you. So that would again be a case of ein shar shachar lefanecha. And in this case, Rabbi Yeshua should be modeh that the lova is believed to say that he paid up based on this migu, because this migu is a peshasa peshahit. There's ein shar shachar lefanecha. So the Gemara answers, Mishum de kaboi lemisnei seifa. The Mishnah wants to tell us the case where Adam came in the seifa. In the Eish Adam shu lava mimenu. If there are Adam to the effect that Ruvain did borrow from Shimon, Vuomer prativ, and Ruvain is claiming I paid you back. Eno neman, he's not believed. Takaimalon. Hamalves Chavero. It should say Veha Kaimelan or Ha Kaimelan. Hamalve Eschaver Biedim ain't Tzarch Lefaro Biedim. He should be believed to say Parati, even if he doesn't have Edim to support that claim, because even though the original Milva was Bifnei Edim, the din is ain't Tzarch Lefaro Bifnei Edim. So wait a minute, is the Gemara now satisfied? Let me just see. Since what? Oh, right. So now we understand, this is a teretz to the Gemara, why the Mishnah didn't address this case, because the Mishnah wants to tell you that if Adam came, he's not believed, but the Mishnah holds that Amalvas Chaver Beidim Ein Tzarch Lefarbin, he is believed to say Parati despite the Adam who testify on Alva, and that's why the Mishnah could not address this case, because it's looking for a case in the Seifa of Adam, and therefore he's not believed. So the Gemara asks for listening, Moder of Yeshua, the Omer Lechaver Manol Avicha Biyadi, Vechaltiv Pras. I borrowed, let's say 100 from your father, and I paid him up 50. Shunemon. Right? Normally, Moder Miksa Taina, according to Torah law, has to take a trua. Here he doesn't even have to take a trua. Why? Because here, the Malva had no reason to sue the guy and demand payment. He didn't even remember anything about the loan. So this would be a perfect example of a migu that Rabbi Yeshua would accept based on the principle of ein shar shachar lefanecha and apesh asa apesh hiti. And we saw already So the Gemara now rejects this question. We're going to introduce now a machlokus between Rabbi Eliezer ben Yaakov and the Rabbanan. I'll leave it to man. I'll leave it to Rabbanan ha'amri meishiv aveda hav. I'll leave it to Rabbi Eliezer ben Yaakov. Eliezer ben Yaakov ha amar shvua boy. So Gemara is saying we cannot introduce this case of Monol Avicha Biyadi V'Chaltiv Pras in our Mishnah. Because if we go according to the Rabbanan are of the opinion that even if a Yoresh, an heir, sues and demands money from a so-called lover who borrowed money from his father, and he says, you borrowed money from my father, you didn't pay it back to me. And the defendant, in this case we'll call him the lover, says, Parati, I paid half of it, is Kimeshav Aveda. The Chachamim hold that he's parted from a shvua. Rabbi Yeshua would not have to say in our Mishnah that the reason why the lover is believed is because of Ein Char Shachet L'Fanecha, which means that the son, the Yoresh, is not being Tovei L'Chov, because in this din, if the lover says Hechalti Pras, he's believed because of Hashavas Aveda. So, what is the problem according to the Rabbanan? The Rabbanan hold that he's a Meishiv Aveda when he says that I owe you half, and he's believed without a shvur. So what is the issue here? Why is the Gemara rejecting this? He writes here, Afim yesh la tovea, siba hamevi aso litvoa, kimo b'shar shachet l'fanecha, arehu neman, sharei svar zu shu meishav aveda kayemes gam kishalot tova. So I think what's going on here, I hope I'm not misleading you, is that a normal case of modu b'miktsas is chayav a shvua based on a chazaka ein on the meiz panav b'fnei bal chova. But here that he's claiming as an heir money from his father, so there's no ha'azas panim here, and he could easily claim, I never borrowed money from him. And if he admits that from your father, and if he admits that he borrowed money, we're going to believe him to return half of the money when he says he returned half of the money. And he doesn't have to take shvua. He's a Meshav Aveda. There's no ha'azas panim here. That would be Mechayev Shvua. So why does our Mishnah say that the reason why he's believed is because of Ein Shar Shafat L'fanech? Just go back to the Shapesha Asara Pesha Hite, which means Ein Shar Shachal L'fanecha. There was no Tviyah. Here in this case, even if there was a Tviyah, there would be no Shvu. The Liba de Rabbi Eliezer ben Yaakov Ha'omar Shvu Boy. Rabbi Eliezer says that he's not a Meshav Aveda, and if he admits that he owes half, denying half by saying I paid half, he's got to take a shvua. He's a modu b'ksataina. His Sanya we learned in the Brisa, Rabbi Eliezer ben Yaakov Omer Pa'omim Shadam Nishpal Pi Tainas Atzmo, that we have a shvua d'oraisa modu b'miktsas, even if no one is tovea him, but he himself came forward on his own initiative to admit that he owes half. Ketzad Monolavicha biyodcha vechalti pras hareze nishba. Zeu shenitbal tainas atzmo, as he himself came forward and admitted that he owes this chol. The son, the heir, was not tovea him that you're chayev amon. The Chachamim omrim eino ela kimeshav avedu patur, that if a person admits to the claim of the son that he owes money, but he claims that part of it he paid back, he's a Meshav Aved, and he doesn't have to take a shvua. So according to Rabbi Eliezer ben Yaakov, he's chayav shvua, even in a case where he was modeh me'atzma. There was no one suing him. According to Rabbanan, the p'tur of a shvua would apply even in a case where the ben is tovea. Right? Because as we said before, there's no problem of ein adam meiz panav b'fnei bal chova. It's the son who's claiming that my father lent you money. He writes here, V'im Kain, Ech Rota Makshon, L'shanos Din V'mishnasenu Shimodu B'atzmo Potu Mishvua, Mishon Pesha L'das Rabbi Eliezer ben Yaakov Chayev Shvua, L'das Rabbanu Potur, even in the case of Shar Shachal L'fanecha. So the Gemara is basically rejecting the kasha of the Makshon. The Gemara asks now another question. For Rabbi Eliezer ben Yaakov, who says Yechayev Shvua, even in a case where he wasn't Toveh, but rather he came forward with his admission, Lesle Meshav Avedu Potur. The Gemara in Gittin on Daf Nun Aleph establishes the Takanas Chachamim that if a person finds a lost object and he returns it, and the original Bailim claim that he didn't return the whole package, the whole object, he doesn't have to take a shvur. The motzi doesn't have to take a shvur because it's tikkun olam. If you're going to require him to take a shvur, a person is never going to be metapel with a mitzvah to return a mitzvah. So in this case where the malveh is not being tovea, this is exactly what Meishu Aved is all about. You want to get a person to admit and confess that he owes money, don't make it difficult for him to make that admission and say, well, your mother makes us, you have to take a shvur dorais on the other behalf. Let it go. So in a case where the the malveh, which is now the son of the malveh, is not being toveh, and it's mamish meishav aveda. Why does Rabbi Elazar ben Yaakov demand a shvur and undermine the original takanas chachamim to encourage people to come forward and confess? Amar Rav, V'to'ano katan. So we're saying the following. The MS, in truth, Rabbi Eliezer is not mechayev shvur, except in a case where the ben was tovea tainis bari. I know for sure that you owe money to my father. Again, exactly how he knows it for sure, that's an issue, but he knows for sure. And Rabbi Eliezer ben Yaakov B'to'ano katan. So the son is a katan. And he's demanding payment for a loan that his father extended to someone else. The lov has to take a shvur. That's the case of Rabbi Eliezer ben Yaakov, according to Rav. So the Gemara says that can't be true. How can you tell me that Rabbi Eliezer ben Yaakov is talking about a case where the Toin was a katan, and therefore the lova has to take a shvur? We don't take a shvur on a tainis katan. So Gemara answers, my katan. What did Rav mean in interpreting Rabbi Eliezer ben Yaakov when he said katan? Gadol. What does that mean, gadol? He called him a katan. Am I kari katan? Like Abi Mili di Aviv ki katanu. Now, this is strange halacha here. You have a son who's a gadol. He's claiming that so-and-so, you owe money to my father, you borrowed money. And the Gemara is saying that since he's dealing with his father's possessions, he's called a katan. And that's why the lover doesn't have to take a shvua. Because ein nishba and al tainas kata. So the Gemara asks, hachi. Tainas atzmo, tainas acherim. A yoresh is a tainas acherim. Well, why does Rabbi Eliezer ben Yaakov call it tainas atzmo? My answer is, you know what Rabbi Eliezer ben Yaakov had in mind? Tainas acherim vodas atzmo. Someone else was tovea, and he himself was modeh. In this case, it means he was modeh that he owes half of the amount. But the Gemara asks, Kule tanose tainas acher vodas atzmo ninu. All tainas of modeh b'miktzas is a tainas acher vodas atzmo. So therefore, even the Chachamim, they don't disagree that he's chayav shvur. So what does it mean, pa'amim? The language pa'amim is very different. Pa'amim sh'adam nishba al tainas atzmo. It's always going to be, in a case of modeh b'miktzas, tainas acherim vodas atzmo. Ella. So at this point, the Gemara backtracks. And again, we're going to talk about a Katan who came forward with a tainas bari. I know for sure that you borrowed money from my father. And ein nishba al tainas katan, that's only if a katan is toing b'tainas atzmo. You owe me money. But if the katan is representing Kaviyochel's father, that you owe my father money, then he could generate a shvua with his taina, even though he's technically a katan. He's ba mikoch of it. So according to the Chachamim, even in a case where a katan is ba mikoch aviv, he cannot generate a shvua on his taina because ein nishba al tainas katan. Whereas according to Rabbi Eliezer ben Yaakov, since he's coming as a ba koach mi aviv, that can generate a shvua. V'hacha b'derabba kamiflagi. This is what we mentioned earlier. Why does a person have to take a shvua on the other half? He's a Meshav Aveda. He gave back half. His answer is he would never want to deny in front of his Baal Chov the favor, the gratitude that he should expect, that he should have for having received money from him. So therefore, if he denies the claim, it must be that he's telling the truth. and he's a Meshav Aveda, he should not have to take a shvua. But the Kule Boy Delivery, really, we need a shvua because maybe he's lying and he wanted to deny the entire sum of money. And now you have to ask the following question. How are we going to be mechayev him a shvua? He's choshed al mamon. He's trying to steal his friend's money. He's trying to deny that he owes money. He'll take a shvua shekel. So my answer is no. Ubikula boy delodile. He would want to be mowed on the entire sum. He doesn't want to steal it. He's not an outright ganav. The high delo odile, but why wasn't he mowed? That he denied the claim. He's looking for a way of pushing it off. The sovereign, he thinks in his mind, I'll get the most and I'll pay him back. The goal is that through his shvua, he'll be modeh on the entire sum, on the other half that he denied. So what's the machlokas now? Rabbi Eliezer and Yaakov Sover Loshna Bo. For Loshna Bibno, there's no difference between a case of being modeh in front of your Balchov who's being Toveh Bari, or he's modeh in front of Bno. Shel Balchov, both Balchov and the Bno are the same din. And even if the Ben is a katan, but he's coming forward with the Titus Bari, and we're going to say, the Beis Panav Kenegdo Lichfar Hakol and Hilchach Lav Meshiv Avedahu. We're back to the Beis Panav B'fnei Bachov, and therefore he wants to be mowed on the whole thing. But on the other hand, he needs time to get the money together, and therefore he puts on this claim of Modav Miktas. So we need a shvur. Rabbanan Savri Bohu Dieno Meis. When do you say you need a shvur? Because Veino the Meis Panav, that's only if he's demanding the chov from him. To him, the Tovea is going to get the chov. But if it's only the Ben who's being Tovea, is Meis, it's not a problem for him to be Meis. And be the low haze, Meshiv Aveda Havi. Since he doesn't have any inhibitions about denying the entire claim in front of the son who's being told at him. Therefore, if he came forward and offered half, we're going to believe him. He has the status of a Meshiv Aveda and he's potem in a shvua. And this leads us to the Mishnah here on Daf Yud Ches Amud Beis, Shemirtza Shembli Neder, 9:45 tomorrow. We'll pick up the Mishnah. Okay then? Thank you very much.